Streaming. Okay, I'm back. I was working earlier today. Things are going just fine. I decided I wanted to return because I've been so disparaging of Krita lately that when it's really good at something, I want to point it out. And this is one thing about Krita that's quite good. Now, you could do something similar in Blender for sure. But I took these, I've got these AI generated background images, right? And I'm going to be using one of these shortly. Gosh, probably this one actually. I think this is, let me look here and see what's the one that I actually painted myself. It should have a name that is, it's probably, oh, I guess it's not that one. Which heck one was it? Oh, it's this one. Okay, yeah, and this was dialed in to look like nighttime. So, you get these AI images, and none of them are quite exactly right. So then you paint over them, and so you're not only making it right, but also making it your own. Anyway, I wanted a new version of the mouth of the cave that the kids are sleeping in. And the only downside to what I'm showing right now is that I can't actually show you the original image. If I go to Promii, let me see if I can pull it up. I doubt that I can, but maybe I can. If I can, then this may be something you guys find somewhat interesting. I have to look at my history here. Yeah, and unfortunately, nope. It's been too long ago that I generated it. These backgrounds are some of the first things I generated with the tool. So that somewhat mutes the impact of what I'm trying to show here today. But number one, if we look closely, you can see what I did here. This AI generated image, literally all of this up here, all of this is all hand painted over top of it. Now, looking up close like this, obviously the scribbles look pretty awful, but yeah, remember this is 3,000 pixels square, and it's actually going to be seen more like at something like that, and broadly speaking, it's in motion. So it's really cool because the AI stuff gives you clues about your technique. What I would say about painting rocks and things like I'm doing here is, when in doubt, try to relegate it to 3 or 4 values, and you probably won't be too far wrong. Okay, so here's the thing I wanted to show, though, that's cool, though, is if you drag an image into a Krita scene, like if I drag this one, drop it in Krita, one of the options I have is to insert it as a file layer. Well, that's what I did here. And what that means is that I can have it in there as a file layer, and as you see here, I can animate over top of it. Yet, if I go back over here, and I guess I should save my work, if I go over here to the actual painting, let me show you what happens, because it's definitely useful. Click this and say, well, we're going to want to add a little bit more sun highlight here, probably catch a little bit there. That wouldn't be too bad. You want to kind of zoom out so you can see what you're doing. Something like that. I'll soften that just a bit, and maybe this stuff here, kind of smooth it out or pump up the contrast. Up here, similar situation actually. I've got some stuff I drew with a fairly mushy, fuzzy brush. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to tighten up these edges, because they're catching the glint of the morning sun, right? And so what I mean by 4 values is I basically got the highlight, the midtone, and the shadow, and you could maybe have one other gradation of tone, but basically that's all you need. And that's true of all painting, actually, even really realistic painting. You might do a little blending downstream to, which is going to obviously create an infinite number of midtones. But, Yeah, I'm just saying, hey, this is the sun going to kind of catch this right here a little bit? Yeah, probably a little bit. A little bit of specular, right? You could maybe build this out a little bit. So it just feels good. You just want it to feel good. And then you hit save. And then you come back over here and look what happens. Bloom. It updates in real time. Very, very cool. So let's save that. This is where, you know, Krita does somewhat shine, I must say. I mean, when it comes to just plain old digital painting, it's great. Okay. So what's going on in the show? Well, the reason I did this shot was that if you look at this, let's just look at the flow. There was a static image in between here. Everything's moving along really fast. See, watch this. Boom. Now this doesn't play back very well in real time because the original image is 3,000 pixels wide. So it's coming together though. So what do I mean by that? Now this could be cached into memory. So if I hit Shift B in Vegas, it's actually going to store it in memory so that the performance hit is greatly muted. So give it half a second here and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's see if that's a little smoother. It should be because now that really large image is cached in memory. Bloop, bloop, cut. There she is, and then out comes Mel, and then he's gonna, oh, yawn. He's out of the mouth of the cave. He sees her and notices her. Okay, so when she gets noticed, where will she be? She will basically be like right here, and he will have come out and be standing right about here. Okay, so what does this mean in terms of background images? If you want to do the same thing that I just did in Krita but do it in Blender, what you would do is you would either create or compile the background images that you're going to use in the Blender scene and then load them as an image sequence and then keyframe when it switches from one to the other. That is actually a little bit clunky. It probably makes more sense to take this whole scene in Blender and bring it into Krita to add the background images. Now there is one caveat to that I'm thinking about here in real time, which is if you do use file layers, I don't believe you can keyframe them to appear and disappear. Okay, let's find out. Let's save our work here and then we're going to find out because this will be important later. Let's take this image that we know we're definitely going to use and let's insert it as a file layer as well. Okay, obviously much, much smaller. You can see why the performance hit on the other, on the rendered shot. Because again, this whole thing is like 3,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels. It's big. Okay. If I want to manipulate this, I can use a transform mask. So let's try this. I'm gonna, and this might be really clunky, I have no idea. I'm going to add one animation curve here. And I'm going to move it to here. And then on the very next frame, I'm going to hit the A key and move that out. So what I just did was I animated the removal of the file layer. The only way you can move a file layer, like you can't paint into it. It's locked because you have to go back and paint on the original. So you use this technique when it makes sense to do so. But now by using a transform mask, I basically have it jump out of the way. Okay, and then what I would have to do is add a transform mask to this one. And this one would be a little different. I'm going to add a keyframe at the start, but this keyframe, oh, I guess it added the keyframe on this particular frame. So that's fine. So let's just do it this way. I'll blow this up, and then what I'm testing here to find out is if I go back one frame, apparently no keyframes were inserted. Okay, so bear with me. Look at this. Where did it switch? It switched here. Therefore, this one would want to start there on frame 10. We go to frame 10. We look there. There's no animation keyframe. We insert an animation keyframe. Therefore, okay, now Krita just did that which I would consider pretty dumb, which is it said, well, you've inserted an animation keyframe. That must mean that you want to restore everything to its original size before you size it up. That's obviously dumb. And this is creepy. Okay, this is creepy. So I don't know quite what to think about this. The little video where we're going to be complimentary of Krita may quickly be reversing itself, because what I'm seeing, to be honest, I gotta tell you, before I used the file layer, I did have some other animation, like using transform masks and stuff, and it was as big a mess as if you just try to imagine as crazy as things get in terms of things not being where they're supposed to and jumping around, and the program doesn't seem to even know what's going on. It was like that. But okay, that's a keyframe, and now here, what we would do, if we can make it work, and I think we can, it's thinking, okay, now all I'm doing is taking this and moving it out of the way. Okay, so again, this is a clunky way to do it. And you could do it this way in Blender too. You could have multiple images that are mapped to planes, and you just animate them in wherever you need them to be, animate them back out when it cuts to another shot, and then you have the same scenario where if you open up the individual background images and paint them and save them, of course that's going to update again in Blender just as you would expect. So where does that leave us on this shot? Well, let's see what happens when we hit go. Okay, it worked perfectly. Okay, so that is a viable approach. It's kind of debatable whether it's, how often is it the right approach. In this case, it seemed to be. Although I may qualify it by saying, in this case, would it have been better not to use the file layer for the specific reason that the whole image is like really, really big, like a lot bigger than it needs to be? And the answer would be, let's get rid of that. I think the answer would be to bake in the transform mask. I don't know if this is correct. I'm going to find out. You guys are going to find out here with me in real time. I'm going to get rid of the transform mask for a minute. So now everything's back to the shot as it was. And what I'm thinking here, hang on. Remember, this is the thing we're trying to find out. We have a file layer. That means this is an image that's in the Krita project, if you will, but it's being referenced. It's referencing an image that's on disk, and the only way I can change the image that's on disk is to open up that image and paint it. You get it. You understand. Okay. So now here's the question. Whoop. I need to read that on the other screen. Cannot start saving until the current save operation is finished. Okay, fine. Fair enough, Krita. That is not ridiculous. Okay. So what would you do here? Well, probably, here's what I'm thinking. If we put everything in a group, and we add a transform mask to that, and what I'm looking at, well, let's just go to position, rotate. I can't read that. I think that's scale or size or something to that effect. It's listing it in percentages. I know it was initially 3000 pixels wide. So normally I'm 1280 wide. So we could go to like probably 48%. Okay, stop everything. Can I hit undo? No. Of course I can't hit undo. Okay. So we go back to 100 here. I should have locked this first. Now, can we take the whole thing and reduce it to 50%? Well, we can. We can, but it does not. It certainly doesn't crop it. So the question for me now is this. In other words, at what point is Krita going to go, oh, I see what you're doing. You're destructively changing the whole scene and the things that are in the scene. Therefore, what I must do now is create a local copy of the image, and it's no longer going to be linked to the one on disk. That's what I'm hoping will happen. Well, is it even possible to use cropping for that? I don't think so. Resized canvas seems to be what you would want, which would be, for our purposes, we're trying to play it safe here, so let's do 1500 by 1500 and just hope it works. Okay, that's okay. And what that did was it actually, unfortunately, put it this way, algorithmically, there's many ways, if you're the programmer, that you would say, what do we do when we scale the image? It chose the way that makes the least sense to me. So if this is 1500 wide, is this even possible? Doing something of this nature? What happens if we do that? And it does exactly what you wouldn't want it to do. Okay, that's all right. Krita pretty much often does what you don't want it to do. So I'm going to say the solution seems to be that you would want to bake this down, but that would bake the animation into the drawing. Is that okay? Yeah, I think that is actually okay. So what I'm going to say is merge the group. Let's see what that does. What should happen is everything gets flattened, and this linked image should no longer be linked. I mean, I would think that would be, that's what I would think makes sense. If you're going to do this sort of thing, then there's a point where it has to say, well, let's turn it back into a local layer, and the link to the file on disk is broken. We don't know what's going to happen. It's a vast and great mystery. Welcome back. Thank you. Oh, I was partway through your stream earlier this morning. Glad you're back. Yeah, I'm back for now. I just wanted to see what would happen here. Okay, so now it did flatten it. Okay. I have to believe this link is broken. The only way we can find out is to do something like this. I don't know why it wouldn't be. It's crazy to me to think that it would be still alive. But what I'm going to do is just add a little highlight here. That's acceptable, right? Okay, and now I'm going to save this. And that little highlight should not appear here. And it didn't. So, okay, so this is one of those cases of Krita doing the right thing. It did completely the right thing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is crop it. Just simple crop. All right? And I'm going to give it a little bit of latitude. Something like that. And as you can see, this is 1500 pixels wide by whatever. All right? And now I don't even know if I'm going to render this and keep it. The only reason to do this, just so you guys know, the only reason to do this is to improve the performance once it's brought into Vegas. So I'm not dealing with 3,000 pixel images. So this is probably not the right solution in this case. A better solution, let's do it this way. Okay. This is the version that was original, and so that little highlight I just painted is there. Okay. So now, what really probably makes the most sense here, I wonder what, because I don't want to change the aspect ratio, even though ideally that's what you would do, but it's already cropped to the aspect ratio in Vegas, so think about this for a minute. What are you really trying to do here? We're just trying to improve performance. So why don't what we want to do is break the link between this image and the one on disk for now. Why is this still open? I do not want that to be saved. Okay. So I can break the link by adding a transform mask, but not actually doing anything, and then flattening the layer. I think that'll do it. Let's find out. Let's just do the same thing we did before. We'll go in here, add just a little bit more. We're saying, hey, the sun is kind of sneaking in and catching a little glint on the edges of those rocks. That's all. Just a little bit. Okay? We save this. Now this should be broken, and it is. The link is broken. That's what we wanted. Now what we can do is take the whole image and just scale it. Scale image to new size. These are linked. I mean, the correct answer is change it to 1280. So instead of being 1280 by 720, it's 1280 by 1280. You know. So this is a little bit risky behavior. Let's go save, and let's just take our chances and render it and see what happens. If it somehow bites us, the worst that can happen is we're going to have to do a little extra work in Vegas to get everything back to normal again. Not the end of the world, because we're just trying to learn here, right? Okay, so here's the shot. And it looks like Vegas did exactly what you would want it to do. As you can see, it simply adapted. The aspect ratio of the whole thing didn't change, so there's no reason for it to... It deals very gracefully with a change in size as long as the aspect ratio... And look at that. Now it plays back smoothly. Isn't that cool? Easy peasy. Very good. All right, I want to check one thing here real quick. Yep, that's good. All right, so now what we can do is let's get back to work. So to true confession, the easiest way to deal with changing backgrounds within a single shot is actually to do it in Krita, if you can just kind of be careful about how you're doing it. So I'm going to get rid of this image for now. I can always bring it in later into the next shot. What I'm going to do is... create Dave's HD. Okay, what do we want to do? Well, we want to get rid of the white background, that's for sure. All right, so what we're going to do, friends, is we're going to import, sorry, I know I'm on the wrong screen. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to import this image sequence into Krita. Okay? Hope this is making sense for you. So go File, Import Animation Frames, and hopefully this will be the ideal manifestation of what a good live stream is, which is simply that I know what I intend to do and I just do it. I'm not sitting here fighting with the software. Okay, which one was that? That was 03-73, render, grab that, actually Control A, and we bring all of these in. And now this is going to be a little punitive. Okay, so we got about 60 frames of animation. This needs to be at 8 frames per second. So for our purposes, I guess we should just put the last frame as 60. It's going from 0 though, so I guess maybe we should make it 59. Oh, that's just silly. We'll leave it at 60. 60 is a nice round number. Okay. So this should play back pretty well. As you see, it does. We have a problem, though. You know what the problem is? And that one we have to blame on Blender. Let's go back to Blender. Here, we need to go into Film and turn that back to transparent and re-render the whole thing. My bad. If you do not go into the very obscure setting called Film and set it to transparent, then Blender will render out ping images, an image sequence of pings, with an alpha channel, RGBA, and yet it will still have a solid background. And the only way you can change it, as far as I know, in Blender is you have to know this little magic secret, which is you go up here to the scene settings and you change the film setting, which who came up with that name? It makes absolutely no sense to me, but this is the way it's been for a long time. Save that. We go back here and repeat. Import animation frames. Should be the same location, you would think. Yep. All right. And we bring them in, and now they have a transparent background. Perfect. Which means now we save as, and this one is going to be 73. 03-73. Got it. Okay. Now, let's go back to the beginning, which, not surprisingly, let me try this, actually. I haven't tried this in 5.1.4, and it probably still doesn't work. Okay, that's duplicates. Honestly, there's no point. There are so few duplicate frames in this shot that it's not worth cleaning this up to get rid of the duplicates. I mean, there's duplicates in there, but there's really not that many, so forget it. Let's just run with this as it is. Okay, in the background layer, that can be deleted. Save that. So now what we want to do, in the show, she's coming up on this cave entrance, right? Okay, so what do we have in the archives here that kind of looks correct? Well, this is kind of close-ish, other than we're going to have to do a little work on the color, like kind of in a big way. So is that going to be possible? I think so. Let's just crank it up. Yeah, it's almost behaving as if it were almost as if it were raw. That's actually pretty impressive. Okay, and then what we do also want to do is probably shift the hue around somewhat to the red, because it is supposed to be morning. Okay, that seems a little strong. That whole thing is way too strong. So let's duplicate this, shift this around to red like crazily. And it looks like that's about as good as we can do. Is there any benefit to trying to push it more towards yellow? Orangish yellow? Maybe. Something like that might not be bad. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is put these two in a group, Control G, and then this one, what I basically want to do is switch to my airbrush in erase mode. And just, there you go. Now, how strong should that be? It's amazing how it actually... Let me look at this for just a second. I'm going to go with something like that. Remember, I can always paint over it and do other things with it if I want to. So I'm going to flatten this. I'm going to merge the group. And then this needs to obviously be on the bottom. And let's just take a look at this. Okay. If that's his destination, then basically we just need to translate this, something like that, make it big. You know, probably something like that. Not too bad. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Right here, he really, let me just look at this. He really needs to look like he's actually exiting the cave. Am I able to achieve that? Let's try that. It's a little bit of trickery for sure. Okay, this one, we're going to go, of course, Krita never pins anything to the timeline if it would be appropriate and intelligent to do so. It only pins stuff to the timeline when it's the wrong idea. That's just Krita. And let's face it, it's a lot of fun to pick on Krita. Okay, so there's that, and boom. Okay, so here, obviously, insert. Okay, so now what do we do? Well, frankly, I have a suspicion that the right answer would be to take this and probably reverse it somehow. No, this is a total long shot. Don't know if it's going to work. We'll just have to see. Obviously, this is a really big image. And I'm just saying, for now, let's just flip it. I don't know if this will work, but I'm kind of feeling like maybe it will. Okay, what I want to do, for those who have a little more experience with this type of thing, if you're horrified by what I'm trying to do, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because the way I'm doing this is a little winky. Okay, overall we need it to be bigger, for sure. Let me think about this for a minute. I actually wonder, and it would be nice if that would update. Okay. Let's say, golly, let's put this in a group and add a layer above it, and then I'm going to say, what's the, we've got the sun beating down, putting an orange sort of cast over things. So that definitely is nice. What I'm thinking here is, what if we put a layer over Mel? Okay. And actually, let's group it with Mel. Let's golly, totally spitballing here. Totally making this up as I go along. Okay, and now I'm going to also do this. So the guy's coming out of the cave, And then here, back here on this layer, we could, it's painting everywhere. Why is it painting everywhere? What the hell? Hang on a second. Stop everything. This should not be in the group. This should be Melchizedek. Why is this not disappearing? Where the hell is Melchizedek? Hello, where's Melchizedek? I'm a little confused. Okay, I see what I did. I got it. My bad. Very stupid. Very stupid. I just did all of that on the Melchizedek layer instead of on the effect layer. And I did it here as well. This is very bad. This is very bad. Undo. Stupidest possible mistake. All my fault. My apologies. Like, how do you get to be that dumb, Dave? Well, I don't know. Somehow I manage it. Okay. So we've got the highlight in there, and now we're trying to add this, and it's supposed to be, he's coming out of the shadows into the light. And should this be overlay mode, maybe? No. Oh my gosh, that's saturation. Overlay? Yeah. Yeah, actually I think so. I can live with that. Okay, so now we go back here, and what's going to happen is we're going to be going basically like this. Okay, stop everything. Why is it? There we go. Had to remember to alpha lock it. Okay. Okay, so now watch what's going to happen. As he moves out, it looks like he's coming into the light. Isn't that cool? That's what we want. Golly, that looks really good. That looks cool. Now the problem is with the cave reversed like that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to just do some radical liquefying on this. Should this be flipped? golly, I think let's liquefy it first. Okay, this may be looking a little baffling to those of you who don't know what the heck I'm doing, but what I want to do is, okay, because the image is really large, the performance is atrocious. That's okay. We can live with that and work with that for the moment. That's really what I wanted. I want him to feel like he's coming out of the cave, you know? Definitely, definitely better. Okay, now, having done that, here's the question. Image, we're going to... what I'm looking for is probably right in front of me and I can't see it. I'm looking for the option to, oh, well, wait. Okay, first thing let's do is merge the group. I'm satisfied with that. Now, is this still huge? Okay, it probably is, and that's probably why it's really performing badly. So now I have to wait for it to finish and hit undo. Okay. This needs to be more yellow, but that's okay. We can work with that. Okay. Let's call this background 1 so that I can tell what's what in the timeline. Okay. This would be background 2. And it has no animation keyframes. Okay. What is this? Okay, this is the light effects in overlay mode, and this is Mel. So this group should be called Mel. This should be called LIGHT-FX. And for simplicity, we'll call this character, this is the layer that the character's in. Okay, now we can start dealing with this. This is problematic. So I'm going to add this, and I'm actually going to put this in overlay mode. That's a little bit too strong, I would say, but it's the right idea. It's the correct idea, friends. So move this, zoom in. Like right there at the edge, the opening. I think that's probably okay. It does suggest that the Tianara shot, the previous shot, should probably be colored a little bit to have the same type of effect going down. So what do we want to do here? Let me think. I think probably just a tiny skosh of saturation should come out. That feels good to me. We're going with it. Okay, let's see how it plays. Ready? Golly, that looks good. Okay, so the main problem is, and maybe I should just consider, well, hold on. Stop everything. The problem is that Tianara's shadow is baked into the animation. So let's stick a pin in that, because if I make one little change in Blender and re-render it, it may solve the whole thing, and then all I have to do is re-import this image sequence. But I'm going to keep working with it here. So this, I'm basically saying A, flip it. Okay, stop everything, undo. This is the one I wanted to do that operation on. The operation is image, trim to image size. There it is. Finally. Jeez. It's like I'm looking straight at it and not seeing it. Okay, so A key, boom, boom. Okay, does this play? Yeah, it actually does, because it looks like this wall is farther out and it's catching the sun more. So yeah, that actually does play. Okay, and really, this is one of those deals where it's like it's good and it's close, but it's not quite right. Like, for example, this is kind of wrong now. This is actually wrong, this keyframe. Let's insert a blank keyframe. Okay, this is wrong, because what this really should be is more like this on that side of it, and the dark should be coming from back here, right? Okay, and the fact of the matter is, I almost want to... Okay, so what I'm kind of getting to here is that the only way the storytelling really works is if he... How do I show this to you guys? Let me show it this way. Okay, this storytelling only works if what we have to do is the next shot, Mel is standing basically here, and for some reason, Tianara is over here. She has not gone into the cave, she walked past him. That's the thing that, initially, that's not how I saw it in my mind. But I can make that work. I mean, it's not a big deal. Obviously, it's doable. I said in the earlier session, obviously, we're dealing with trying not to go overboard with sexual innuendo, okay? Or whatever, stuff that some people in the audience may, think is a little too suggestive or whatever. I'm just really totally spitballing here. So the idea that Tianara comes back up to the cave and she's carrying her pants, that's okay. And I showed this in the earlier live stream session, because her top goes down almost to her knees. It's like wearing a dress or something. But it'd be like if a girl was wearing a hoodie, like a hoodie that's 3 sizes too big, and it hangs all the way almost down to her knees, but it covers her up, right? It's kind of like that idea. And so then the question that is, I don't know, actually, you know what? Why don't we just do this? I got an idea. That's why I think this stuff is kind of funny. Because, you just sit and think about it, and all of a sudden you get an idea, and it becomes really, really clear how to solve the problem. Here's how we solve the problem. Let's just put a copy of this background up top, and then we will erase everything except this little wall right here, okay? And we don't want to use the airbrush for this. Okay, hit the B key. Get your bearings here, Dave. Get a brush that we know will work. So what we're going to do is we're going to chisel right around this and remove it. Okay, why'd we do that? Because now, when Tianara walks past, she is going in the cave. Look at that. Problem solved. Problem solved. We just needed her to go in the cave instead of past the cave. Nice. Perfect. That solved it. Okay, we're good. Okay, 5 seconds to check any comments. Hold the R key, click in the image to activate that layer. Tom's reminding me. Yes. Well, we still need to we do still need to judiciously name our layers so that at a glance we actually know what's going on. But that actually did it. That stupid little fix right there solved it all. So now what we need to do is go here and hit Control Insert, and then go back here, and I didn't really mean to delete it. I meant to delete the layer. Okay, so is that it? Oh, problem. Okay, this is interesting. Oh my gosh, this is very interesting. So this cannot start until here. Right? Because Mel's hand has to go in front of it, but then Tianara has to go behind it. Well, this is the kind of stuff, for the entire history of animation, this is the kind of stuff we all have to deal with, because you're dealing with flat 2D layers, and how do you make it work, you know? Okay, so then the only other question for me becomes, do I want to do some things right here in this layer, right here, that are going to be probably, well, let's go to normal mode, I think. Definitely alpha lock. Now you'll see that if we now go to our airbrush and go with, let's go with a slightly yellow-ish or slightly orangish, but light color. You see what happens? Okay. Okay. So why'd we do that? I'm just trying to pick this up right here. So I'm going to hit Control Insert and get rid of that. Probably could pull this back to about here. I don't know. Why am I picking it up there? Let me check something. Okay, yes. This is too big. Erase mode. I want to go actually to that keyframe right there. This should not be here. Okay, so if we solo it, we should only see it here, the highlight. Okay, so in erase mode. That's all we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is make it so that when she walks in there, we begin to catch that glint from behind. Okay, so now what else can we do that might make this even better? Well, one thing I'm thinking is if she's going into the cave, maybe what should actually be happening is this should actually be blue. You could paint out the cave part on the right so it looks like the cave mouth is bigger. Yeah, you could. That's true. That would be another thing that would be possibly helpful. So what I'm trying to do is get to this point right here. Okay. And I don't want any of this here. And frankly, this is a little bit bright, but I'm gonna be adjusting the layer opacity, of course, as well. So now let's ask luminosity. No, I'm just playing around with, no, overlay definitely doesn't work. Additive is probably, it's pretty much the same as normal or screen or something. So all we're trying to do is just catch a little bit like that. Okay, now I'm gonna just take this effect and move it this way a little bit, because frankly, once she gets past him, it's really not needed, you know? Blah, 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 blah. Ooh, that was really abrupt. Okay, so we'll put it back here. And now, what is the least we can use that'll be effective-ish? I think that's it. I think I got it. Okay, so now what we got to do is we want to overwrite 03-73. So we don't want this to be 72B. We want this to be 73. And the frames are 03 dash up dash 0. Okay, I put 07. Mr. Dyslexia. Mr. Dyslexia, how are you so dyslexic? Go, let's render the bloody thing. And it says we get a warning, so the only thing that remains is possibly toning down the lighting effects here. Let's go back and see what we have. Okay, so the argument, once we get past this, was that this shot maybe should be more yellowed, but I don't know. I could see toning it down a little bit. I could see toning it down a bit. I think that's reasonable. Let's go here, and I would say probably what we're talking about here is, nope, not this. Nope, not this. This is baked in. I guess we'll live with that for a moment. This, okay, yeah, I'm thinking let's tone this down a little bit. Just kind of split the difference, so we're not totally losing the purple in his hair. And we get here. Yeah, it's just a little less extreme. That was pretty extreme, frankly. And this is at, what, 59? So if you turn it off completely, for those of you that are making films, this is something you'll find. If you have a shot in a movie that is, you want to enhance the lighting, punch up the color, even make it seem like the light's coming from a different direction, you can do it in overlay mode by just doing grayscale gradients over top of an image in overlay mode. It will literally make it look like the light's coming from a different direction. So now the question is, on this image, can we tone down the saturation? I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's do it this way. I'm going to create a filter mask. Okay? The reason I'm going to use a filter mask is because now what I can do is, let's just play around with this. Saturation and or hue. Let's just see what happens if we rotate this back a bit to blue. Where's blue? Back to here. Okay. And now, this may not work, but I'm going to try it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I don't want erase mode, I want black. And now what I'm doing is I'm painting into the mask in order to selectively choose where it affects the image. You see? And this is a little, again, a little extreme, so I'm going to go ahead and paint this back in. This is not quite as toned down as I prefer. I like what I'm seeing up here. Obviously, we want to catch some of that yellow, but isn't that cool how you can control it? This should probably be super strong, actually. This is where a sharper brush would probably make more sense. Right? So you can basically go in and decide where the effect actually has an effect. Quite powerful, my friends. That I didn't mean to do. Okay, okay. Is that all right? I am thinking maybe on light effects, let's see. Yes, this is in overlay mode, and here, that's probably pretty critical. It's at half strength. So what I'm thinking is right here, brush. It's about as strong as you're going to get if it's going to be in overlay mode. So I guess it is what it is. We could obviously put in another layer and do all kinds of, there's always a way. That's, I gotta say, this is a pretty incredible shot. I'm liking what I'm seeing. The judicious combination of both what Blender's good at and what Krita's good at. Rock and roll, make it work. I'm double checking that in the other one. Yep. Good. We're good. What time is it? 2:46? Probably have to wrap up around 3. Get some lunchy poo going on. Let's see. This all goes by so quick. I love that. Golly, I love that. Isn't that slick? Wow, I'm impressed. So, where are we up to? We've done 18 seconds in the last, 2 days. So we're not quite on major track to be like at the best pace ever. But I have to say, I really love the look is awesome. I mean, the look of the show is like, I am loving what I'm seeing. It's bloody sweet. Anybody want to disagree? Dude, you're full of it, man. It looks like crap. Wish the mailman would come, though, because I really do want to find out if my quarter 4 royalties are, all they might be cracked up to be. So this is that, and this is done. This is, I'm sure, probably doesn't need to be saved, but okay. So let's go here, and let's just think for a minute, okay? Because again, the innuendo thing is a thing. I have to think about how I want to play this. Okay, let's think about this. If Tia comes in here, okay, so let's just sketch this. So here's the mouth of the cave, and here's Mel, and he would be in complete silhouette, and he's turned around, and he's kind of looking at her. And he's a little dumbfounded. Because she looks, surprisingly good to him at the moment. Trust me, guys, this is okay. It's from the beginning one of the obvious themes of Salt and Light eventually is that there's going to be a romance between Mel and Tia, but since they hate each other's guts, pretty much, it'll take a while for that to develop. So we're early in the situation. Okay. So what is she doing? She's, okay, tab, select all. This whole thing needs to be a little smaller. Kind of think about the rule of thirds, think about the centering of things. Alt-A, grab this. We'll put this more like over here. Sorry, not the B key. D key. Okay. So, boom, boom. She probably would not have her bindi. She has to paint that on. which is kind of weird because under these circumstances, maybe she would not have the material she needs available to paint on her bindi. So maybe temporarily she should be bindi free. Okay, it's important that her hair is very flat because the whole thing is Mel says, you know, you're all wet. He says you're all wet, and she's like, river, bath, cleanliness. And Mel's like, in this weather? She says, it is possible to be civilized. You might want to try it. So, as I say, they're constantly bickering. So this, she does have the turtleneck on, but she's kind of bending over here. Probably to prepare to put on the pants. Okay. So now this is the tricky part. I have to kind of draw up. So let's just do it like this. If she was standing there sort of bent over, then her legs would be kind of like that. That doesn't look right. She looks like she's balance gonna fall over. This part looks okay. And so this would be her. This is kind of blocking the hands. Okay, I think I know what to do. So she's going to be she's going to be doing something, and then she's going to glance back and see her looking at her. And then he's awkward. There's a lot that happens faster. So he's awkward. He's like, you know, he's like, okay, I've been caught looking at her, right? What do I do? You know, you're all wet. And so then she's kind of like, you know, who the hell are you to ask what I'm up to or whatever, you know what I mean? So, okay. So now I have to sort of do this anime style. I need to think about Kill la Kill, like how they draw the girls in Kill la Kill. We want to exaggerate this a little bit. So basically their crown goes like down there, and then you got essentially the knees, and she sort of got this leg locked because her weight is more on this leg. And so then this sweatshirt would be kind of like this. That's not right. This would be kind of wrapped around her. And then this would be kind of like right? Something like that is what would be going on. That makes sense. Now that makes sense to me. Yes. This is obviously kind of clunky the way I did it, but okay. And then probably this probably needs to come down a little further so it almost feels like a skirt. Because if I'm not actually I went too far on that, but let me back up a few steps. When we first saw her when she was in drag, I do believe this is correct actually. She had a belt on and she had leggings, but she also had a, you know, the top came down far enough to, you know, kind of give her a little skirt thing, which a lot of the guys wear too. So let's go back here. Maybe in this episode. Nah, see here we don't have it. Of course, it could be theoretically tucked in. That's a bit of a stretch, no doubt about it. What I'm trying to go back to is I need to go back to episode 2. Sorry. Loading episode 2. Bloody sweet. Oh, thanks, Ross. I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly, but let's see what we have here. There's Tianara looking very happy and sweet. A bit of magic that we're kind of losing a bit of. So I just want to scroll back through this and see, do we ever see her? Okay. Can we find one essentially full body picture of her? Not really. Not so far. Right there. Yeah, see, that's ambiguous. And plus here she's got this big wingdinger on her belt, which is up. Well, no. There's no skirt to it. So, well, welcome to the real world, friends. That just means you got to figure out what you're going to do. You got to figure it out. So, if that's the case, then if I'm going to be a purist here and do it fairly and correctly, then what that really means is that this should be fairly short, which makes the whole innuendo thing even worse, I suppose. So, and that is kind of how I was picturing it in my mind, is it's almost like it's kind of tight around her waist, or I'm sorry, around her legs. The whole thing fits fairly snugly. Anyway, that's what we have. Okay, so problem? Yes. Problem being this whole bit is, okay, unselect. All of this is a little too big. So I'm going to scale it down until it just kind of sort of feels right. I think that's probably pretty close. Okay, and we move this downstream one frame. Well, no, I guess what we meant to say is we duplicate this. Shift D. Okay, this is where you need to stretch this way out and train Blender to have enough space between the keyframes. Okay, so now E key. Oh, maybe this should be in reverse, actually. I'm going to just redo it. I'll probably delete that other keyframe I just made. This needs to be bigger. Let's focus on the... Obviously, Mel is being distorted and he's not supposed to be. That's okay. I'm still learning my hotkeys, apparently. Okay, and then we need to draw. This is to actually try to use sculpting for that is ridiculous. And stop everything. Stop everything. Stop everything. Undo, undo, undo. Undo, 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 undo. Okay, just a classic mistake. Stop everything. File, save. I don't ever, 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 ever want this to happen again. So we're going to save this as... We got to jump through some logistical hoops now, because we have a stupid problem that we shouldn't ever have, but we do, and we need to solve it. 03-74, create the directory, save this as 03-74, boom, save. Okay, and now let's go to our default brand new setting, brand new scene, turn on auto keying, file, defaults, save startup file, yes, and now we can get back to work. So now this will never happen again. When I start up a new scene, by default, auto keying will be turned on, which it definitely should be. It's not that I always want it, but I often do. Okay, so what's she going to do? She's going to kind of bend down a little bit. Okay, think for a moment. There's probably a way to do some kind of influence masking, but I think not. I think what I'm going to do instead is go here. I know this all looks a little wacky, guys, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to grab Mel, turn off proportional editing, get him just way out of the way. Just get this out of the way. We can always move it back later. And all of these keyframes or points, I'm going to delete. Why did I do that? Only so that I can just go into sculpt mode without going crazy and make mods to Tia and stop everything. I did the same thing again. I fixed it in my startup file, but I didn't fix it here. Click. Auto keying is now on. Now I can actually get some work done. It's crazy how much stuff you have to pay attention to. But once you figure it out, you dial in your configuration and your setup and your hotkeys, whatever it is you have to do, and you know, then you don't generally have to think about it anymore. Is basically the deal. Okay, so do we want to give a 1 frame buffer to this? Probably. Okay. Now there's stuff in here that's really, really stupid, and the only way to work with it is to destroy any possibility of doing any more sculpting, basically, by just deleting all this nasty garbage, because this needs to be animated properly. And if there's nasty garbage on the screen, it's only distracting my mind from essentially trying to stick with something that is bad, and that's stupid. We don't want to do that. Okay. All right, guys, this is the group. There's only 2 people here. That's too bad. Okay, here's the question. What do we want to do here? Okay, let's think about this. Problem is I have new ideas that are coming to me. Well, the clothes are not necessarily all wet. So this only happens for half a second, but the question is, what is she doing over here? She's reaching for something. I'm just going to keep going with it. I'm just going to draw and see where this takes me. I know the dialogue. I mean, the scene is written and all that, but as far as the nuance of action here, you know, just little things that people do to, you know, keep busy. It's actually a problem you have with acting, is that I mentioned the other day Tommy Beardmore, who's from Chicago, and Tommy was really good at this. He would when he was in a scene, he would always be creatively thinking about what he could have in his hands. That just makes it look like he's being purposeful. Like if he's in the shot, he wants it to look like there's a reason he's there and he's doing something, you know. So he was really good at that. He set a good example to the other actors, you know, to just be thinking about what you're doing with your hands and stuff. Okay, so it's like she's kind of reaching down, like she's gonna maybe get some materials organized in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter too much. Let's put the cuff there. Let's put the cuff there. Straighten that out. She's just kind of stretching out her arm. This could be kind of a little more open. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, boom, 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 boom. That's probably good enough. Now, at ink time, we're going to wish we had completely drawn those hands so that they really serve as a guide. Otherwise, I have to decide then what I was intending to do. But yeah, she's just kind of just doing something, you know? That's actually all there is to it. She's just doing something. And so we're going to immediately be cutting away from her and to Mel. So Mel's essentially staring at her. He's not staring. This whole thing went down really quick, obviously. Oops. But let's face it, this would be his, and by the way, let's get this thing the hell out of the way. And this all has to be resolved, and the editing right here in the show is really fast, and it needs to be, because when Luka comes back, there's some interaction with Luka, and then we find out that he somehow managed to procure a boat. Okay, so let's just kind of indicate his what do you call it, the Tootsie Roll type hair he's got. Okay. Okay, so we all know what this would look like. This would be boom, boom. It would be boom, pow, right there. E, sh, F key. Did I just move that? Can't bloody keep track of what I'm doing here. Okay, now what we want to do is I'm actually going to just do something so that there's a keyframe there. Don't really have to do that, but okay. And then okay, please Blender, stay on the layer that I'm trying to stay on. Okay, I'm going to give that a 1 frame buffer and see how it feels, okay? Not bad. Now, it'd be better if there was some sort of gulp kind of thing going on, I think, but not bad. Not bad. Just the timing of the keys was enough to pretty much make it work. Okay, let's keep going with the storytelling. We can always tighten that up and add to it later. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see, rule of thirds wise, Mel's not in a bad location, actually. Let's just leave him there. That's fine. This all happens really quick. It feels good. Okay, so what I'm talking about is this would be additive drawing. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's find out. That didn't work at all, because this makes absolutely no sense. This makes absolutely no sense. That's one of those things that you just don't know until you know. This should be closed. This should be closed. This should be closed. Okay, now watch this. Watch this. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think it's going to work. Boom, boom. There it is. There it is, right? Am I right? That's it. You know when it's right, and that is definitely the right idea. Okay, this should be coming back here a little further. I'm definitely going to have to do a little work on his hair. But I'm just trying to figure out the storytelling at this point. So this is 03-74. Save it. Let's keep rocking. Boom. That feels right about there. Okay. Wait a second. 180-degree rule is in play here. So the camera's on this side of them. Mel's left. So now if the camera comes over to Mel's left shoulder and looks over his left shoulder, then obviously Mel would be... Okay. That was stupid. I forgot that I had additive drawing on, so... Not the end of the world. This is all got to be really quick, the way it edits. You'll see what I mean. Okay, that doesn't feel good at all. Because something about that, all of a sudden being everything's lower, does not make sense. That looks way better. Okay, B key, or I'm sorry, D key. And now T is going to spring back up again. So he is... Poor Mel is so busted here. So let's go 2 frames downstream here. Ah! Okay. Actually, let's do it this way. Okay. Let her butt stick out a little bit more. Shoulders come up, choo 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 choo, like this. Now she's starting to feel more like a kid again, you know, in terms of how I'm portraying her here. Okay, so she choo. So she got that sort of loose, forlorn feeling. All right, what's the timing on that? Okay, so do we need an interim one? Yeah, probably one tween wouldn't be bad. So let's just kind of indicate the back. This is a 1 frame tween. Doesn't matter too much. That'll probably work. Boom. Okay. Remember in the Jungle Book at the end of the movie when Mowgli sees the village girl, it's kind of like that. Her attitude's something akin to that. She doesn't mean to be, you know, attractive or anything. she's just herself, you know. Okay, so now this would be... Okay, now we're reminded here that her hair is kind of straggly and wet. Not the usual. The look on her face. It's like, what the hell are you looking at? Is the idea. Isn't it cool how the characters are turning out lately, man? I really like what I'm seeing. Yeah, this looks a little cross-eyed, no doubt about it. Isn't that... Golly, poor Mel. Think how you'd feel if all of a sudden you were caught, staring at, looking at someone. Oops. That's exactly what I was trying to do. That's it. Oh my god, it's funny. Okay. So, I really want to cut it into the show, but I'm here, different time. Did I say Tom earlier? I think I did. I can't believe it's 3:17. That's what happens, when you're doing animation and it's actually fun. This is what happens. You just get lost in it, man, because it's just cool. Okay, and obviously here, just to set the stage, this is going to be... If Mel is here, then really the mouth of the cave should be something like that, honestly, which would make sense because there were kind of rocks here in the foreground that she might be reaching down to grab something, or who knows. It doesn't matter what she's doing. God, I love it. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? I just think this is how the show should be. I mean, this is what I want the whole thing to be like. Good acting and just fast-paced, fun, decent characterization. Man. It's the way it's supposed to be, friends. The way it's supposed to be. Okay. What are you looking at? Okay, probably... In the script, she doesn't say that. In the script, he goes, you're all wet. Like he's doesn't know what to say, kind of thing, right? Okay, so for now, let's just put this here. I'm going to add 2 of these. Put a blink in there. Nope. Come on. Come on. Come on. What just happened? What just happened? What just happened? Why did everything all of a sudden... I accidentally hit a key over on my left with my left hand. I don't have any idea what key I hit, and now all of a sudden everything's lighter. I have no idea what just happened. And I cannot know that undo is going to change anything, so I'm going to start hitting D, and it does me no good. This is not good. This is not good. What just happened? Man, I hate that when you have a thing where you can hit a hotkey of some kind. You have no idea what hotkey it was, and now poof, something changed in my whole scene, and I have literally no idea what I did. Could be caps lock, could be A, D, S, X. I absolutely have no idea what I just did. That's creepy. But I'm going to keep moving forward. I don't care. I refuse to be dissuaded today. I refuse to be dissuaded by stupid stuff. I refuse, friends. It happens way too often. Okay, box. I literally absolutely have no idea what I did. What is it that can happen in the Blender interface that would all of a sudden cause all lines to get 30% lighter? Just out of the blue. I have absolutely... Does anybody have a clue? Okay, you clicked on the double box. Thank you, Tom. You're always the one that has these technical answers. The double box up near the layer stuff you clicked on. The double box. Double box. I have to look around now and I'm going, what does he mean by double box? The double box up near the layer stuff. Upper left of view area. So this is layer stuff, but I guess... But he's saying upper left and yet near layer stuff. Upper right, I mean, okay. Upper right. Upper left of view, okay, upper right of view area. Sorry, Tom, to ignore you there, by the way. The double box icon near the view modes. View modes, double box icon. Double box icon. I think I know what you mean. This. Toggle X-ray. What the? Is that the X key? Alt Z. I don't know how the hell I pressed Alt Z. What does X-ray do? Thank you. What does X-ray do? Oh, that's right. It makes it so that grease pencil strokes are visible even if they're behind other grease pencil strokes. Got it. Thank you, man. Golly, that was a tough one. Okay, now, if you really wanted to play with this and have fun, you go, right here, you'd go, I'll tell you exactly what you do. Nope, too much. This is actually too much as well. I'm going to skip that, put this here, go here, and that's wrong. Well, maybe that's wrong. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to run with that. Okay, so what makes this work? I'll show you. Let's go into draw mode and extrapolate one frame there. This, now watch this. D key. Let's see if it worked. Okay, not bad. And to be truthful, there probably should be one frame. There should be a one frame blink, actually. I think. Hey, we can always take it back out. Right? And we may want to take this whole sequence here. My instincts say take this whole bit right here, move it just a few frames downstream. Boom. Ooh, that was scathing. That was scathing. Guys, am I right? Am I right? Go a little downstream here. Boom. Okay, so this is what he would do. We'll just assume the mouth is in there on a different layer for now. You're all wet, is what he would do. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and have a little fun with twisting with Mel as well. Is this the right way? No, this is the wrong way, so let's undo that. We want to be negative. We want to make this probably as big as it can be. And let's put it near his chin just to see what that does. Okay, I see what it's doing. So actually, the right between the eyes seems to be really good. So now let's just see if the body language feels okay. Yeah, I'd say so. Okay, let's go additive mode, D key. We're in additive mode, so what it would be is take this, duplicate that there and here, and now we go your actually this should probably be, nope, getting ahead of myself here. Okay, I tell you what we'll do. We want to take this one out, boom. We want to take this one, duplicate it, boom, and then we want to have a closed mouth. And the truth of the matter is, if you really want to play this up, this may be too much of a good thing, but I think you would put in one more blink. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Okay. It's all about the acting, man. All about the acting. You're all wet. Okay, I'm asking for trouble by packing so much into a single shot here. So I think this would be the time to quit. Yeah, it's almost 3:30, so let's quit. All right, guys. I scrolled back on the timeline to see what I changed. Oh, to see. Good for you, Tom. That's great thinking. Oh my gosh, good eye. If you use the plugin for OBS that shows keys in the recording, it may help viewers and for you to see what keys you pressed in the future. I'll have to bear that in mind. It's something I'll have to look at. So thanks, Tom, as always. I'm going to take, basically what I want to do here is Melchizedek should be a silhouette. This should be a silhouette. And of course this is not going to propagate. But yeah, there's a lot that has to happen here, because then they're both like, yeah, where's Luka? And then Luka shows up with berries, and there's a lot that goes on in this whole sequence. That's why everything needs to move so fast. But it also means it's why I have a lot of work to do. Tell you what, for this sequence, let's call this good. I'd say let's go to 85 and cut it into the show. Just let's have the fun of seeing how it all looks, and then we will call it a wrap. All right, so this is episode 3, and we want 3.74 RENDER, boom boom, 03-74 period, and as you know, Blender's going to change that to 0374 underscore, and you have to manually change it back. I'm not aware of any version of Blender where that doesn't happen. Okay, and also, just to be sure, did we keep this transparent? We did, so that's good. And let's render the darn thing, and Control F12, and then we'll cut it in the show, and we'll see what we have, and then we're done for the day. So while that renders, I'm switching back over to Vegas in order to cut in this media, which is going to be 03-74, and it is a sequence 85. It looks like they're all there, so let's grab it. Let's say 8 frames per second. Let's slap it in the show. Nice. Properties, disable resample, and now we'll switch back to here, and let's just see what we got. From here, so far in this sequence, I've done 30 seconds. So 30 seconds in 2 days, not good enough, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Well, it's not really 30 seconds because obviously the shot's not done. If I work hard and finish the shot today, then I will have accomplished that 30 seconds in 2 days. Okay. And I'm going to... I tell ya, I love it. I love it. I'm going to put this at best full so we can look at this at full resolution, because I just want to... This is what the show will really look like, other than it's possible Vegas won't keep up with the frame rate at all times. Yeah, from here on, it's just incredible looking to me. I just think it looks spectacular. I love it. I don't think there's anything that I find more fun than animating attitude. You know, just animating attitude, I think, is the coolest thing. Motion isn't that either hard or interesting, but attitude is a lot of fun. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. As you guys know, there will be more later. Thanks for hanging out, and until next time, ciao.